Okay, here goes. I've never done this sort of thing before, but I've got so annoyed that, okay, lockdown has made a bit of a difference, but they had plenty of time before lockdown to respond to my letters and emails, and also to have given a better answer to some of my questions. Having visited the shop where it was bought, Cooper's in Tunbridge Wells, they offered no real answers to my problems. Unfortunately, Motorcycle News acknowledged my letter but no more, and MAG unfortunately did much the same, Motorcycle Action Group, although they did provide a name and address for someone to write to. But I think that given the the fact that we pay so much for these motorbikes and pay so much insurance, car drivers would never ever put up with the kind of prices we pay and some of the problems encountered. Now, this bike was bought from a very good friend who I'd known for nearly 50 years, an excellent mechanic, been in the motor trade and bike trade most of his working life, and he bought the bike brand new from Cooper's with every conceivable extra. It's a BMW R1200 RS. He'd had the bike for 3 years but only put 55, yes, 55 miles on it, because unfortunately he suffered ill health before he had a chance to really ride it. Now, he had the bike serviced for me by a mechanic recommended by Cooper's, because they had a month's waiting list and I needed the bike before that. So the bike was serviced by this guy, and I rode it quite happily until it got nearly 1,000 miles on the clock, when it broke down on the A22 on a Sunday afternoon. Because I didn't want to leave it where it was, I felt it was a bit of a dangerous place to leave it for all sorts of reasons. I got on the old internet and found a BMW mobile mechanic. I won't give his name because he might not like that, but since found out he's very well respected, and anyway, he came and picked the bike up on the same day, which I thought was very good of him, and took it away. And he did his best, once he realised what the problem was, to get BMW to offer some kind of payment, if you like, or some kind of help, because it turns out that the petrol tank had imploded. Now, this evidently has been a problem on similar models. The GS, I think, of a year or two before, it was a recall, but BMW didn't want to know. And subsequently I've emailed and written letters and got no response from them whatsoever. So this is my reason for putting it out there to the world, to see if other people have had a similar problem, and to warn people that if they leave there, because obviously this bike had been standing more or less for 3 years in a heated garage, but and he did start it from time to time, but it turned out that one of the fuel breather pipes was blocked, and checking breather pipes, it turns out, is not on any kind of BMW schedule for service, so please bear that in mind. Now, that bill for a new tank came to over £1,000. Now, this bike has not done 1,000 miles and I've got a bill for £1,000. Unbelievable. And then I did another maybe 200, 300 miles on it, and again it stopped, and again on the A22, and again in a not a good place. So I immediately contacted the same chap, thinking that it was possibly a related problem, and you know, that he would sort it. He came down, put his diagnostics on it, and turned out it was now the fuel pump that had packed up. So a couple of weeks later, I get another bill, this time for over £700. You can buy a bloody fuel pump for a car for 35 quid, you know. I mean, it's just unbelievable. I've never, in all my biking history, I'm now 71 years old, I've ridden bikes since I was 9 years old, not on the road obviously, but I've never ever had to spend that sort of money, unless it was on extras, on any bike I've ever owned over the years, and I've had a few. The only problems I've had in the old days is running out of petrol. But to have bills like that on a bike that's not even done, it's done now 1600 miles, has completely destroyed my confidence in BMW for a start, and just in the biking world generally, because it seems that we fawn over we're all the same, we fawn over these lovely new bikes, and oh how marvellous, all the whistles and bells, I don't have to bother with the clutch changing up and down now, except when I'm, you know, all that kind of thing, electronic suspension. I mean, it's incredible, considering you know, the old Triumphs and BMWs BSAs I rode in the old days, Jaguars, things like that. So that's fantastic, but it's, you know, this sort of thing just shouldn't happen. And a company the size of BMW can't even be bothered to respond when you have what I feel is a genuine reason to contact them. Okay, things break down, we all know that, but not after not even 1,000 miles to get a bill like that, and knowing that there was a problem with these fuel tanks imploding on other models. Surely someone would say, oh sorry, yeah, okay, we'll pay for that. But no, nothing. So I think it's a very, very poor show, and I hope in some way this might help some other poor sod who's had